he's a gay man, a legal scholar, and a gay marriage advocate. And he, at the time, he put his finger, he said, give the Catholic Church that exemption. He said, they'll find good homes for children, they won't find good gay homes. There'll be other people who find the good gay homes. What's the big deal? And so what I don't really understand is the frame of mind that says it's better to put them out of business because we can't encourage discrimination, right? I mean, I don't get it. So I would just say, I don't run those agencies, I'm not a bishop, I'm not going to tell the church how it ought to respond in this circumstance. It's a lose-lose situation, and I think it's totally unnecessary. I don't think anyone's interests are being served, and I think the fears of people like me have been stoked precisely because of the unwillingness to accommodate in these kinds of situations.
We have under 10 minutes left, so I'm going to keep going.
Hi, my name is Allison, and I come from a newly disconnected and fragmented family, to use your terms, Maggie. This is kind of...
that you're just going through a divorce, or what do you...
My mom just told me she got the divorce papers from my dad, so... my question, I guess, for you is, does gay mean the same thing now as it did when you were a young girl? And
How old?
well, I don't want to age you, so...
I'm 49.
Okay, let's say when you were 7.
67. Does gay mean the same thing now as it did when I was 7?
When you were a kid, did you hear gay and you thought happy?
By the time I was a teenager, let's put it that way, homosexuality, gayness was a pretty public feature, and I knew what it meant. I don't know what about 7. There's certainly been a change since 67, and there's been a change since 78 when I graduated from high school.
I just asked this question because you said that you were challenging the meaning of marriage, and I know that meanings change, so maybe, John, we could call it marriage and maybe accomplish the same thing. It's just the changing of the name.
It's more complex than that, right? We could call it by different names. We could call it by names in different languages. The question is, how do we respond to this? What are our responsibilities as a society with respect to it? But your question actually raised a point for me that I want to bring up. You're talking about these various arguments in favor of marriage for same-sex couples. One of the ones I didn't talk about that I think is important has to do with kids growing up gay and lesbian. You talk about kids. I kind of started having an awareness that I was gay. Maybe junior high school, I started thinking I had gay feelings. I didn't come out as gay until I was 19. One of the things I think is important about this, and it goes back to something Maggie was saying earlier about one of the things that marriage does, it's a way of telling those kids that, you know what, your love matters to society too. You deserve somebody to have and to hold for better and for worse till death do you part. And I think that as we talk about all of the people affected by these issues, we shouldn't forget those kids. What do you want to do?
Let's take the questions, and
I don't want you to go. You've got to.
I gotta go in a minute, and it's what it's.
And I'm happy to stick around and keep answering questions like this.
Question
and
is,
then
do we go to summations? I think we should just keep
I
going
don't think
questions
necessarily should go to summations, but then also I'm going to ask you all, would you like me to stick around for another 20 minutes beyond that and keep asking questions? And if I have to go on that side and pretend to be Maggie, I will. But you might get confused.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the last questions.
My name is Brenda McComb. I have a question for both of you. I wondered whether you think that transgender people should be allowed to marry, and if not, why not? If so, then should a male to female transsexual be allowed to marry only men, and should a female to male be allowed to marry only?
I don't actually have an answer to that question. I don't, because I'm okay with it. However we decide what gender is, right? It's complicated, and I haven't looked at it, and I literally don't, if a man, if you're telling me people can't change their gender, and that's the law, and then someone really is a woman that used to be a man, then that woman can marry a man under my legal scheme, right? If I thought about it, whether or not that's a good idea to do or not, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion about it, except that I do think that you shouldn't be able to just, if there's a real phenomenon of transgenderism, which let's just bracket my ignorance, and I'm not challenging that, I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. It's not at the heart of my concerns. I understand it's the heart of other people's concerns. I'm less concerned about it if you have to do something substantive to change your gender than if you just check off a box, right? I mean, there's something that bothers me with the idea that you get up, there are people who say transgenderism is a real medical condition. It can be cured through surgery and hormone therapy. People can reassign their genders to match what their real gender is psychologically. That's one thing. And then there's this new thing, which there's some people are saying, today I feel like a woman. You all have to treat me like a woman because today I feel like a woman. I'm more concerned about the second than the first, but I'm ignorant about both things. And I don't see it as key to the marriage debate in my head. Now, do you see it as key to the gay marriage debate in your head? How does transgenderism relate to gay marriage in your head?
That's going to be a long answer to that question, but let me say, what you call the second thing, that is today I feel like a woman and tomorrow I might feel like a man, is actually sometimes people working their way through the first thing.
Okay, yeah,
That is,
that could be.
trying to figure out what their gender identity is, which is a complex thing that most of us have the luxury of not having to think about, because we were born into the body of the gender that we identify with, and it's easy for us, and I think we need to be sensitive to that. In answer to your questions, yes, I believe transgender people should be allowed to get married. Yes, I think a transgender man should be allowed to marry men. Yes, I think a transgender man should be allowed to marry women. I have transgender friends who are legally married because the state recognizes their current gender.
I think we may want to move to summations at this point in the spirit of time.
Look, my summation is that I don't want to sum up in the sense that
I'd
I
rather
think
not
this is an
have-
ongoing conversation,
Yeah,
and I think it's good.
Let's
So.
take one more question rather than take that for some.
This is a question for Maggie. My wife is from Michigan, and her previous relationship, she got a civil union in the state of Vermont. Both her and her wife were not from Vermont. The only way they could dissolve that was for one to go to Vermont, establish residency, live for 6 months, then apply for dissolution. My partner and I now live in Oregon. We got a domestic partnership. So there's this weird gay bigamy loophole that exists. And what I'm asking you is...
It really does lead to polygamy. What do you mean?
So my question is, if marriage is this scary negative tinge for you, that word, would you be in favor of a national relationship rights for lesbian gay couples under another name? Be it civil union for 50 states or domestic partnership for 50 states, so we could dissolve those relationships.
I think there would be versions of things that would be very helpful to you that I could support. It's not that it would, you'd have to look at the actual thing. I mean, it's not a blanket thing. Figuring out a way that, legal statuses that are not marriages can be dissolved without making people move to Vermont,
Which is a lovely place.
Now, Vermont might be opposed to that, but, I think that there are practical problems with the transition period. We don't have an institution that is universally recognized. It's creating problems. The question is, do we want to use those problems? Do we want to practically solve those problems? Or sometimes I feel like we want to use those problems to say there are no practical solutions except for gay marriage in all 50 states, right? So I'm all about let's find some practical solutions that are not that to help people. To me, that's not threatening. I also don't think marriage is a scary word. Gay marriage is not a scary word to me. It's just a word I disagree with. Okay, thanks for giving me the